Very good. Well, good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, August 10th. The Mid-Road Fire District will now call this meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. And you would do the roll call, please.
Director McGowan?
Here.
Director Benetti?
Here.
Director Whiteling?
Here.
Director Ownby?
Excused.
Director Jones?
Here.
We do have a quorum.
And staff present, we have our Executive Director, Phil Turnbull, and Administrative Assistant, Cassie. Everyone stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, moving into item 2 on today's agenda, approval of the agenda. Everybody get a chance to look it over? We would entertain a motion to approve or amend the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda for August 10th, 2026.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, take the roll, please.
Director McGowan?
Yes.
Director Benetti?
Yes.
Director Whiteling?
Yes.
Director Ownby?
Excused?
Director Jones?
Yeah.
Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, moving into item 3, approval of the minutes. Everybody get a chance to review the minutes from 7/27/26.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as they are for July 27, 2026.
Okay. Motion.
Second.
Got a second by Tom. Any further discussion? Take the roll, please.
Director McGowan?
Yes.
Director Benetti?
Yes.
Director Whiteling?
Yes.
Director Ownby?
Excused?
Director Jones?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, moving right along. Moving into item number 4. Sounds like we got a fire. Wolf Creek. Okay. Let me silence this one. There we go. Okay. Secretary Treasury reports.
All right. Currently in Evergreen checking, we have under 198,000, and this is current, including the 2 payroll checks we've just written. $198,233.74 in the payroll account. There's $1,000 in the P card account, $30,000, and savings to $255.03 for a total at Evergreen of $229,488.77. In the local government investment pool, we have $1,270,853.42. Since July 1st, that has gained $10,617.55 in interest. And
In 1 month.
In 1 month. Well, part of that is from
2 months.
Yeah, 2 months.
Yeah.
But I look at if that would have been done initially years ago, it'd be way up there.
Yep.
So total of everything was $1,500,342.19. So we're just above what the initial grant was, but it's going to start dropping with the payroll here pretty quick. And the interest will kind of barely keep up with the payroll that we're getting on LGIP. So going back now to when we all first started on the board, we were given $324,821 is our budget. And we have spent with what currently there, in total with everything we've purchased, that being a vehicle, office supplies, getting stuff, work done in the office and all that, we spent a total of $95,332.23 to date since we were elected.
Nice.
Of that money. So if we can continue to keep that, I estimate, except for any big dollar amount, we, even without another funding base, we can probably go 3 to 4 years off what our current money is without any further funding.
With our new payroll.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's
That's
it.
great.
That's great.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Anything further? Anything?
That was it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, sir. All right, move out of item 4 and we'll move into item 5. This is Sue Densmore Public Affairs presentation. So Sue, I'm going to turn it over to you.
I think some of you may be familiar with Sue. She stepped up and did the affairs type consultation leading up to the last time that the fire district was on the ballot. Not this fire district. We were successful. It was the one that didn't go anywhere.
2020.
Yeah. Did have a good board, just no district.
We did.
For government. At any rate, it was wonderful to work with. And I've actually known her since she was hired by the AMR back in the 90s, and I was on the other side of the table, and she beat us up really good. And that's when AMR got the contract and we didn't, that they're still hanging on to. And I was impressed enough that when we were looking for somebody to help with the fire district this last go around, I reached out to her and was lucky enough to get it. I think that's just kind of a personal story. Yeah, and then you want to add to it resume-wise?
No, thank you. It was a pleasure to work with both AMR and then later with Romeo. I enjoyed, I was, for AMR, when can't remember the name of the ambulance company, was purchased by American Medical Response in the, 1996 or something. The Care Ambulance, that's right. And I had a friend that worked at AMR, and she called up and she said, "We don't know anything about Josephine County. We now own an ambulance company there. Could you help?" So that was a long time ago, and we then brought AMR into the community, and we did have some contracts we had to put in place and a whole variety of things. And then, like Bill said, at one point, the city and Metro wanted the bid for the ambulance company. So that's when we got to know each other. And then I was a lobbyist for AMR at the legislative level. I worked with them. And then Bill said, "Now we're owned by AMR at that point." So then I came back to work and worked with them for, quite a few years doing a variety of things. One which was, Bill gave me a list when I came here of things I was supposed to accomplish before I left, and I didn't get the district involved. But we did pretty well with everything else I think we were working on. So he just asked me to come today, I think, to talk to you about the levy, the tax levy, right?
I think that's pretty much the goal.
What's ahead of you? Okay. Huh?
No, you do the-
Yeah, it's not a levy. You don't want a levy, you want a base. You want a permanent base. So, so I guess what I thought was maybe the most helpful is I've looked through everything that we did with the Latin campaign. And of course, you were active and you were active with it. And I don't know, were you around? No, none of you were campaign. Okay. So what I thought might be the most helpful is to kind of share with you what we learned as we ended that campaign, and as you're looking at going back out for another election, maybe my thoughts on what we might do differently. And then if you want me, I am not applying to run the campaign. I don't feel that, but I would be happy to be available to advise you on some of the strategic things that I think maybe we should do as you get ready to do the tax base. I'd be happy to just join you if that seems to be helpful. If not, no problem. So as I look back, several things I think that are interesting is that Ron Smith, who is now a commissioner, was not in favor of the district back in the day. And I think you should know that. Apparently now he's taken quite a turn, and he seems to be, would you consider him a supporter now?
Yes.
So that is great. And I think you have 3 right now very supportive commissioners. So one place to start there, we did not have a vote of confidence from the commissioners for the last campaign. So I think that's wonderful. If you've got them in place, of course you'll have When are you thinking about going out for the tax base? Do you have a date yet or a thought of, are you way ahead of?
Still way ahead of it.
Okay. I'm starting to think about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and the big difference with this one is the district already exists. This is just specifically for the tax base
Okay.
to support it.
So I think, yeah, last time there was years of work to try to get to the point of getting the commissioners to even put it on the ballot. And those of us that were involved in it realized that. And so I think partly what I would say last time, several things that I don't think we expected, although I think in the long run, everything, I was reading some of these articles, and I think the campaign itself was amazing in a lot of ways. I think we learned a lot, I think we gained a lot, and you came at 47% yes and 52% no. So there's 6 how many voters there? And so you'd need to get another, my thought, you'd have to find another 10,000 people that would vote yes this time. And your problem is going to be is you're asking for money. In Josephine County is that we don't want new taxes under any circumstances, no matter who it is or what they want. So I think that's going to be your biggest concern. Let me see, I wrote down how many voters you had to get. But so, yeah, there's 68,000 registered voters there was in Josephine County. 52,000 voted in the general. It depends on if you go general or primary. And then, so if you got 47% last time, you already have to think about, although it was bigger than just a money issue last time, but I do think that that's what they saw. I think they saw it being a money issue, really. Yeah, we had a great board and all those wonderful things happening, and you did, but you didn't get the district in place. So there's several things I would say that we did right. Great campaign, great committee. I mean, we had a lot of energy, a lot of very active campaign, raised some money. The things we missed were the really negative and I think to some degree untruthful negative campaign that came against us. I think we were not aware of the strength of the, what is the magazine that's printed?
The sneak preview.
Sneak preview. I think there were things that really there wasn't probably anything we could do about in a way. I mean, they were there. The question is, going forward, will they be there again? And I think that's something you really have to think about in your strategy is who are those people? I mean, we know who they are. Will they be as active as they were before? Will they care about the tax base? If that is the case, then I think that what I would suggest is that we go spend several hours somewhere and writing on the wall the absolute worst things that could happen. And we call this fatal flaws. We did this. I cited the Dry Creek landfill in my life before I went to work for AMR. Landfills, I mean, you know, boy, there's everything that can go wrong with the landfill. So we used to do what we call fatal flaws. We would list every possible horrible thing that could happen. Then you answer. If you answer them, it gives you lots of confidence over the fact that, okay, if this is going to happen, you could once again this time had a group that came after you, taxes. Well, what are the answers we need to have in advance so that we're not taken by surprise? I think those sneak preview, all of that, you know, some people believed it, and it was unfortunate, and it wasn't the truth, but we didn't know how to respond to it. So let's say that happened again, well, we would think about what we would do. Yeah.
I think I really like what you're saying, and I think a lot of that, what was coming out in the sneak preview, if we did a really, really good job of getting out there and educating the public on why they need this ahead of time, we can offset that negativity by public education. I think that is the number one thing that this fire district and board and executive director need to concentrate on right now.
Yeah.
That is the basic walk before we run.
The sooner the better. And you also had the issue of where are these rural metro? They had a lot of questions. People that were subscribers of Rural Metro, how does it change? And we talked to them, we thought, you talked to them, we went door to door, we did a lot, but I think again, the education to them, and you can't, I don't know if you can guarantee now what will happen in the transition if we have a tax. I mean, you're not in a better position, I guess, to say, oh, you have a district,
And then now, so the problem with last time, there was no board elected. So you couldn't say what the board was going to do. Now that the board's elected, the board can actually make those choices prior to that going on a ballot. So the ballot language can actually reflect what the board plans to do if it passes. We didn't have that last time. Because it was
Passed off as a blank check because there's no plan, because the board didn't exist to make it right. We have some advantage this time.
Yeah, the
We
board
can make a
exists.
platform.
Can you have so can you communicate directly with the Rural Metro subscribers this time? I mean, we had some concerns about that.
I think at this point, I don't think that we're in a position to answer that.
But going with that, there's a 30-70, there's approximately high 60-70% subscribers for rural metro.
Okay.
People are already paying the $1.94 per 1,000. So that's essentially a tax they're paying for fire protection. If we can get that 70% to agree, we've got this.
Yep.
Because it's they're already paying it.
It's
If
just
we can keep it that amount or a little bit less, it could be, we just haven't done that work yet.
last time it was 20 cents cheaper. However, we will need to do a new feasibility study to find out what that looks like in today's economy, and whether or not that would still work or not. My guess is the idea is that once this tax base goes into play, we don't want to have to go back and ask for more later. We want this to last, so it has to be built right in the beginning, so that you're not having to come back to the voters later and saying, oh. So.
You can levy, I mean, you can, excuse me. You get a levy, you don't have to draw either. I mean, sometimes people do that, like in 4-H now.
Yeah,
We did
tax base, so the tax base is like thing, so the tax base would be, and you're right, you don't have to
You
draw.
don't have to. Let's see, we have a special service district here, a special district, which are completely different. And, in the case of the service district, we don't necessarily have to levy the entire amount, but you probably would want to and put it in the bank. I mean, you're gonna need it. 4-H doesn't necessarily need it, and the commissioners are, the boss is there, but,
So Sue, if we were to bring you on board, what do you charge for your work?
Well, last time I was employed by Rural Metro, so I didn't charge, I think $1,500 was my total bill for you guys, above and beyond my work for them. I'm not really, like I said, I am fully employed, and I would totally agree to work with you. I think more in an advisory role would be better, because I do think, and I have a lot of information that I could give you about how to, I would help you, for example, set up the campaign when you get to the point. But I think in anticipation, what I'd be the best help is getting ready. I think I could help you the best there, probably, because of, and I have Barb. Where's Barb? We need to find Barb. Whoever is the person who carries out the campaign, Barb, who, okay, we had a team last time of, you need an amazing treasurer, Kevin. Kevin was fabulous. Kevin would come back. Kevin and I met every Friday, and Barb, who was semi-retired at the point we met, wasn't she? She worked for Rural Metro, and we've seen this. The entire campaign from A to Z is in this pack. I mean, everything we did, who donated, every single solitary thing we did. And she just was, and what we did, like I said, we met every Friday. So there's some things like that I could help you with all of those things, what you need to do to get ready. But I do think last time we didn't have time to get ready. We were waiting for the commissioners to put it on the ballot. They didn't literally the night before, I think, they finally put it on the ballot and we were already going. So I think this time I'd be happy to help you get ready and even to help you find somebody to carry out the campaign. I mean, you do need, I would suggest, here are the kind of A, B, C, Ds, and I sent this to, I can give you any of these things, but they're not motivated to get out. But so first thing is to get ready. Decide exactly what you're going to ask for, how much you're going to ask for, and then decide who your real supporters are. Who's out there that you know you're going to get a yes vote from. At one point, finally, and the other time, we thought about districting it like the library did. I don't think you can do that this time. So, I mean, that was one of the places where we got was because we knew there were pockets of yes votes. So we would do some analysis to try to figure out where the neighborhoods were that you really felt were your most positive neighborhoods and do all of that work ahead of time, which we didn't do before. Poor Steve, remember all the analysis he was doing? I mean, I've got maps, I've got all that stuff here for you. But I would help with that. Think about, again, who were the people that were for us and who were the people that were against us. And so we would think about all those people, think about, talk to them, educate them, maybe even do some forums like we did at Rotary, but you can all go talk. I mean, you've really got a nice position you're coming from this time, I think. You've got a district in place, the commissioners put you there.
We've all done public education in our former careers. And that's a lot of what this is and benefits of becoming a fire district versus the other. And like you say, town halls, fire watch groups, or Firewise, things like that. I mean, get out there and get the message and get this started.
And they, so I've got when you get to that point, I've got, TV, radio, print, letters to the editor, guest editors, endorsements, community meetings. I mean, there's all of that. When you get to that point, I could help you find somebody I can give you all the overview of how to do a campaign. I don't want to do the day-to-day. We did it. You guys all, man, it was.
But you've got the map right there to guide.
Yeah, and then everything in here. This is just a gift, and I kept it, man.
So a lot of the work's
it's
done.
And she kept. I mean, it's just fabulous. I didn't realize at the time that she was just printing things and keeping everything organized. And then I have some additional things that I put together for you back then that talked about like who are your, fire smart, social media, Speakers Bureau. There's all those things here, but I think the thing to start with again would be, what are you asking for? What general, primary, where are you going to be? What year? If you can even think about it. And then what you do is once you've chosen that, so say you're going to be in the general in 2027, I don't even know the date, then you back up from that and you look at all the dates you have to look at. Voters pamphlet, ballots mailed, last day to register to vote, lawn signs out, all that stuff you set up right away so that you know what you're doing and how much time you've given yourself so that you don't miss any of those deadlines. So we could help you set that up. Then you need to do a committee. You were chair last time, weren't you? I think you were chair of the committee, weren't you? And you have to set up a Friends of the something fire district. You have to do that. You have to get a 501c3 designation. You have to register at the state. There's a whole set of things. You have to get a post office box, a bank account. I mean, just logistical things that, again, I can just give you the how to do it. And then you need to get a Kevin. Kevin was our treasurer. Treasurer is the number one thing in a campaign. You really have to find somebody that's willing to take it. If something goes wrong, it's the treasurer that they go after at the state level. I mean, and Kevin was just without a doubt the right guy. And like I said, we met every Friday. And then you have to have somebody, in our case, we had Lori, and all of her information is in here. You hire somebody who once a week, if you get a donation on Tuesday, by the following Tuesday, it has to be recorded at the state level. Once you get into a certain closeness to the campaign. So we hired a Piercy, which again, we could find somebody that could do that for you. And she and Kevin, got to be one-on-one. They talked daily, I think, to make sure that everything was every time you make an expenditure or you have a donation, you have to record all that at the state level. And Lori was fantastic. I think she's retired, but you need that. And then you really, once you kind of get that stuff all put together, you have your campaign, you have your dates, you have your treasurer, and you have your committee, your campaign committee. Then you start to think about how are you going to carry out the campaign. That's when you need then another plan that talks about, what are all the dates where you have rotaries, or are you going to be on TV, and what are your lawn signs going to say? I mean, I've got a list of how to run a campaign if you want to know those. Then in here, we have a schedule of everything we did last time. Who spoke where, it's all in there. Thanks for that. Boy, yeah. And so then you, in anticipation, like you said, if we can think ahead to anticipate where the negative is going to come from. That's really the only problem we had last time, I think. I think everything else went quite well. I mean, as far as the campaign goes, you've run a couple campaigns. I mean, and then the other thing you have to think about up front is you want to get your 501c3 and at the state level, because you have to right away pay some things. So you're going to have to get your friends out set up so that you can get $500 to $1,000 in the bank. And now that you all can contribute some, you should start thinking about who out there would donate. And we have a list in here of who donated last time, which you can look at. Maybe they do again. It's Rotary, different friends, they were generous and thoughtful. I would expect there's two ways you can look at it. If you don't spend more than $3,500, a lot of the stuff at the state you don't have to do. But I believe you would spend way down. So then you have to go through the whole thing with the state and register and all that kind of stuff. Things like being in the voters pamphlet, the one thing that John West said last time is that he didn't get a negative letter in the voters pamphlet. He did everything else, but he said that was too bad. You have to pay to put things in the voters pamphlet. So all of that we can sketch out, and I would be happy to do that for you, just kind of like what I'm talking about, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I kind of have it, but I didn't get a chance to really put it in a way that I probably want to share it with you tonight, but I'd be happy to do that. And then you carry out the campaign. I mean, you're going to be doing events, press, direct mail, phone calls. You remember what we all did last time around. Oh, it's a lot of work. And at that point, you're probably going to want somebody like me who is overseeing it all. You need somebody to watch and make sure if the phone banks are if the lawn, who's putting out the lawn signs. I mean, you will need a coordinator, which I could probably pretty easily find somebody. The other person that you might want to talk to is Kate at the library. We talked to her before, and she has had successful campaigns, as well as did the most recent one pass? Wasn't there just a public safety levy?
Well, there was
the
animal shelter.
Yeah.
The law enforcement service district, which was 2 years ago.
And did they pass? Then talk to them. How'd you do it? And they should be willing to help. I've got that shelter group if you know them, everybody knows them. Call them up and say, could you help us? Thank you, you did well, appreciate what you did, be really thoughtful. And also the other public safety levy, because you'll learn a lot. We learned a lot from the library. A lot of things we did were because of Kate's advice. She is also very generous in her advice. They ended up, of course, having to district to get the library to go. And I don't know if they'll stay that way forever or where they are going. And of course, they've had their share of negative stuff lately, but she seems to keep on going, and they're building another new library. So that was really what I wanted to say today. I can certainly answer questions. I'm happy, like I said, to help you I've got things like, how you set up and all the stuff in bar. And then of course here's your ballot title, last one, the measure, but it's different because it's just the tax base this time. It's not the district, so a lot of this doesn't apply. The other thing is you can find, and I'm sure you've probably done this, a special district association. Are you familiar with them? Yeah, I'm sure you do. And there'll be a lot of help on a tax base, because I looked through all that. I printed off a few of the things that were on there. But that's just what comes with these things. And it might be helpful. So, and then when you get into the actual campaign, I've done a lot of them. I can give you what you might want to do is like in phone banking. Now, the other issue that I want to talk a little about is social media. Some of the campaigns that I have run, you didn't have to worry about that. I do think you need to think ahead on that, your website, your social media. And again, I like what you said, start now if you can. And I know Rural Metro has a great Facebook page. I mean, often they'll do it. I mean, it's great. It's really great. But don't have one, you should start one. And you should start thinking about who can tell a story. I mean, you just really got to build up, like you said, a website and a Facebook or whoever, I don't know, I do Facebook. LinkedIn is important now. If you don't do LinkedIn, I would think about that. Again, it's a very business-like, supposed to be, and you can profile yourself there, and you can talk about the really good things about why the district's important, what you're doing, like you said, who the board is, how strong the future is, what a good idea it is. Finally, the only place in Oregon that didn't have one, you have one now. Is there anybody else that doesn't have a district? Are you the only one?
Still a few out there in Eastern Oregon. It's the last heavily populated area.
So I think you got some questions to answer. The rural metro issue, of course, why is it worth the tax base? Who does it affect? What are you going to say? What you're going to say, all of that, you put one-page issue papers together. I can help you with that if you'd like to, but I don't know what to I'm not going to charge you something. Rural Metro was very good to me, and I told Bill I would help you. I'm just glad you're here.
And you're local, and you're local, and you've been through this.
We've been through it. We've been through it. You can see by this, we went through it. And I do, my work now is still trying to restore the lodge at During Caves. So I'm in Grass Pass 3 or 4 times a day. I still have an office. I don't know if you ever got, when we did this, remember we were in no heat in that old office in the Sears? We didn't even have a bathroom for while we
I really like the fact that you know the history of the area. You know that we're going to have the people throwing the darts at us, and you've got a background in it. Glad to see that.
Whatever. All of this is everything. It's got everything in this thing. I don't know who gets to keep this. I can keep it.
Still like when it developed.
I'd be happy to be. I just don't want to be hired. But I know you've talked about people about maybe hiring somebody, and that's fine too. If you decide to hire somebody to carry out the campaign, I'm happy to be advised if you want it.
Another big difference that we have now wasn't then is the fact that as the board, as the district, we would only be doing an educational piece prior to a campaign. Once a campaign starts, we can't have anything to do with it.
It's the Friends of.
So it would be, and that has been created already. And then that 501(c) that's organized would then do the campaign, because at that point, the board stays out of any campaigning.
So that's why it's important now, for however period of time you have, if you don't have a rush, if you've got funding, to think about all the things we talked about, do some strategic thinking, and then you're right. And then think about very carefully who will lead the campaign. If you guys have to turn it over to somebody else, you need to really think strongly about who would be the friends of the, what do you call it? What is it? Mid-Road Fire District.
So it'd be probably like somebody who's running the Friends of the Oregon Caves.
Mark, does that stop us from doing, up until that point, public education?
We can do public education.
You can speak about it, but you can't ask them to vote yes.
We can tell positives of the fire district.
As a fire, you can still maintain your integrity as a fire district board member. And like when the Rural Community College was on a ballot one time, Peter Angstead used to get on his bicycle, and he would have a sign that would say, "On vacation," and then he could do campaigning. Now that's quite different because he was a community college president. But you can be in a meeting, you can speak about the district, but you cannot ask somebody to vote yes or no. It's clearly, you just can't even do that. But if you are in volunteers, or if you started to think about, anybody that might help do a campaign yet, or have you gone there? Yeah, he did the list last time. Yeah.
I'm pessimistic, and I'm including you on the list.
No, I think, we had some super good Well, a lot of them ran for the board last time too, but yeah, he's,
I think not being shut down by the ones who put it out, strong on the ballot.
yeah.
So, you know, they put it on there because I think they felt compelled to have to do so. But reality is they shot it down, which a lot of people rely on, you know, the advice from the commissioners. So
Yep. Yeah, we
to
could.
me, it seemed almost illegal that they could do that. It was kind of like they were trying to tell people don't vote for it.
Yeah.
So that's gonna help.
Well, I think, let's see, yeah, because you may have new commissioners by then. You know, you'll have to, hopefully, they'll be still in support and that we don't get a negative commissioner.
Well, if we do, we can sit down and talk to them as well.
I think
You know, what's
so.
their main objective for, you know, being against it?
Get your big claws out there. I do think that is always in the sense of, the very worst thing you can think of if you just have an answer. It can help. So anyway, I'm here for you. Anything you need me to do. And like I said, one thing I think I could help you with is some kind of a strategic discussion, thinking about what we did last time, and kind of the before you get into the campaign part. I think it would be helpful. Realizing what didn't happen last time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything I can do to help? Do you want me to take this or leave it with one of you?
Bill, if you want to do it.
Okay.
We have an office now, we can keep it in the office.
I may have to rely on it again if I do.
Access to it anytime. Like we said, it's charged for copies.
Well, there you go. I didn't make copies of any of it, but, and I could forward you some of the ideas that I had.
Well, we get moving further along, you know, this start. Maybe down the- Yeah, we can go over that at that time.
Oh, she's around. Give her, I mean, I kept this, for some reason, at the time we closed the campaign, I thought, I've got a lot of good information here.
And just a quick plug for somebody that deserves it, just look at even the writing, right, to get a sense for just how good Steve was and organizing.
And she was the one, okay, now, and again, this is once you get into the campaign, but like I said, we met every week, and she and Kevin kept, and Lori, that is such a critical point. She wrote the checks. Barb actually had the check. Very carefully wrote out every check, and we kept track of it with the bank, and just, we didn't have to worry, because we knew between Barb and Lori and Kevin, we weren't gonna get any fines, any trouble.
I think you'll find this body is to the same standards.
Yeah, it's just the best, and yeah, and we had a good time most of the time. I mean, we were trying to keep ahead of all the issues that could have happened. So, anyway, well, it's a pleasure, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm real proud of you.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you again for all the work you did in 2020 and 21. That was a lot of work that you. It was really appreciated.
I think you're in good shape. Thank you for including me in your discussion, and it's been fun. Good to see you again. How's your truck? Your thing? Well, and what's that silver colored thing that you yours?
Oh, that was BR's. That was.
Oh, Brian.
Yeah, I think he still has that.
Chair, you were.
Yeah, I think Ryan.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Well, life looks great. He's sitting out there doing a good thing. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Sue. Appreciate it. All right. Done with item 5, and we will move into item 6 as soon as he comes back in. We'll give it back to more. All right, sir, we will give you the floor for the executive director report.
Just wrapping that up, I think you can see why I felt it was important for the board to meet. Now, let's see.
Stand by
I'm
for
gonna go
just
ahead and
stand by for just a minute. Just a minute, real quick. We gotta make sure that Tom, are you on and able to hear us?
Yes, now I got back on.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure.
All right, and then, Tom, I'm just gonna go ahead and go down through the progress report of the again, the one that was included in the board packet. And we'll just start with, well, June and Christmas, I'm right into the big one, right to start with, which is going down the page, that's the way it goes. In the back of your packet, the physical packet, you'll find a concept proposal. And unfortunately, Tom, I didn't have it ready when I had turned my stuff into CATSI last week to get it into the printing material you have in front of you. So I'm going to try to talk loud enough. Are you able to hear me?
Yep, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. I'm going to go through the essence of this, but the rest of the board has not seen it up until today either because, as I said, it wasn't in the board packet. It is something, however, I've been working on for a little while, and I'm going to try my best to give a concise overview.
Is it the last 2 pages he needs?
Oh, very good. It's 3 pages.
3 pages.
I'm sending it to him right now.
Oh, excellent.
Great.
Well, while it's on its way to you, Tom, I'm going to go ahead and cover the essentials out of it, and it's really fairly simple. This is the culmination of research that came out of lots and lots of discussion, research, and head scratching. The issue being, we know the challenges of taking and asking for a tax base, yet we know that is the solid answer for the best outcome for us for the future. However, the thought was, is there a backup alternative? And then I learned that it was possible to do companion ballot measures, where you put 2 related ballot measures on at the same time, and one of them is allowed to be senior to the other. So that's the companion ballot measure concept right there described. And the initial research I have, if I was to just put some odds on it, is I'm in the 90% certain that we're on clear sailing for that one. However, everything in this proposal well, I'm wording it the other way. Nothing in this proposal has been vetted by legal counsel. We'd want to run it past legal counsel and SDAO before going any further. And that's really what today is about. I'm introducing it to you and see if we can get consensus that this is worth pursuing, or if you think you'd like further discussion before more resources are put into this. Because in addition to a considerable amount of my time and energy and Cassie's, there's also the fact that I'm going to start spending money from this point forward. So, and this is just a concept. I'm not locked into it. And there are a couple of Achilles heels in it that will have to be looked at closely. I'll get to those in a second. The first ballot measure, what we call measure 1 in here, is straightforward. It's the standard tax base, just like any other measure for a tax base. Measure 2, its companion, is what I've termed, because there isn't a term for it, a dual option measure. It's called that because if passed by the voters, then each year from that point forward, we will be sending out a membership. Think of it as somewhat similar to the way Rural Metro does it now, or any subscription model. We would be sending out a membership, and it is optional as to whether you pay for it or not. The way that I'd like to design it, and of course it's all subject to legal scrutiny and voter approval, is the default is you're a member within the fire district of the fire district's membership system. However, you have the option of opting out. And you'll have to do that the way I wrote it. And again, this is only one design each year. If you opt out, you're going to a user fee system. Now, that is one of the, and so far, we're on relatively solid ground. It's what having the user fee system capable of meeting challenges, because you can almost be guaranteed it will be at some point. That is the real portion we have to look at carefully. And from our research I was able to do, this dual option system can be legal, but it has to be worded correctly in the ballot and structured correctly and carefully. But it looks possible, at least at the level I'm able to research it. The way that I'd like to do it, in the interest of fairness, after going through every single possibility about how to structure it, fires are flat fee, so many dollars per hour, except you can come up with pick a dollar per hour if fire truck's worse, or just a straight flat fee for a fire. You still have to back it up into something that justifies it. And here's the real catch. It also needs to be something that not only can you justify it and have a possibility of explaining it to the public and to any litigator, but it should represent, in theory, 1/3 of the support if we ended up mirroring what's going on right now, right? Well, wow, how do you do that? Well, what I came up with, I didn't come up with it, it's out there for other, stole the idea, is everybody starts by getting their invoice for the membership. You can opt out, which means you're not gonna pay it. And what you've just done is opened a revolving line of credit. $400 owed, 10 years later, that's $4,000 plus interest. That would be the bill for your fire. It's fair, it's what you've deferred. All you're doing is then catch up on the amount deferred. And the way to calculate the revolving line of credit can also apply to people that are running late on their regular membership. It wouldn't matter. If you sign up for the regular membership but don't pay, then you're gonna start accumulating interest utilizing standard revolving credit systems that are the accounting for that. And how to calculate it is already well established. The most common one I've ever mentioned is credit cards.
So it's tied to the property itself. So for instance, I go 10 years and I don't pay you a dime, I had a fire, whatever, I sell my place.
At the point you had a fire, if you sell your place before you had a fire, well, we gambled and got away with it. If, however, although there's no way to, the system doesn't call for attaching it. We're not attaching that debt to the property.
And so there's really no teeth to it.
Until you do sell, you have, if you have a fire, at that point, you get the invoice. If you don't pay it, we go through the collection process culminating in lien. But you are right. If, however, you got out from under the property having had a fire, this system would not capture that.
This is kind of no different than what is going on right now with Rural Metro. You've got people that subscribe, people that don't. Rural Metro can't collect on most of the ones that the people don't pay on that don't have a subscription because it costs more to take them to court than what the bill is worth.
And that is,
so they just write it off. Let me finish.
Sorry.
How and where does this legally get tied onto their property taxes? Where does that happen? I see this being a legal nightmare where if we went with this, Mid-Road is going to be in court all the time or just have constant legal expenses with something like this because it's going to get challenged and challenged and challenged and challenged.
Well, no, I sell my house. You guys don't know that I sold my house because I wanted a quick sale or whatever, so you don't have time to file the paperwork to.
This is like quicksand to me. It's no different than what we're trying to get away from by getting a tax-based system where people aren't free riding and freelancing off this thing and not paying. Yeah.
The only thing I can say is, one, I would not attempt to sell this as being a desirable option. It may, however, be one of the few things we can find as a backup. But this all came off of the premise of the idea of trying to find a backup. That's the best backup I could structure. There are some flaws with it, but if we want to backup, I don't think, and it isn't saying that I can't find a way to tweak it, maybe even address some of your concerns, but I don't think we're going to find anything that holds a candle to passing taxes.
You'd have to get the county and the state to allow you to attach their property taxes with a lien. How's that happen?
Oh, the front of the ballot measure,
Yeah.
its language be written into the ballot measure itself. It's standardized.
So it states in.
States.
Yeah, so the difference between us and rural metro is teeth, we can go for the lean. And of course, anything can be challenged, but once you have the precedent set and you've gone through a few challenges, it gets a lot easier. And I don't know that we would leave, the idea of this is we would use the ballot measure process and the state statutes to leave it to where there wasn't much for them to do for it. It's a collection process. There's plenty of government fees out there that aren't handled all the time and are in liens, or people have to pay it and can't challenge it because it's structured in such a way that it is perfectly legal, and obviously so. That would be the idea. So the main answer to your question, though, is twofold. One, this is not a replacement for a tax base if there's any way we can get a tax base. Two would be that, yes, this, I believe, and this is all subject to that legal research, so I'm not saying I'm certain, but I believe we've got a good shot of structuring this to where we can collect where rural metro can't.
I personally think having two ballot measures is going to be confusing to people.
There's no doubt about that.
I agree.
Totally confusing to people where they're just going to go vote no on both.
Is there any case history that you know of out there, or cases that have,
For which part of it?
well, trying to collect?
Oh, well, you can go right to, permit fees, and there's plenty of.
Well, this is a model that's someplace else, obviously, that's where you got it from.
What I was looking at was applying state statutes that do cover fees, because the option two, both of those dual options are considered fees. Even the assessed value based one is a fee because you have it's not a tax because you got an option. You can opt out of it.
Sure. Which is a big issue that people have had.
Yeah.
And so when you go and you take the statutes on fees, there is a clear collection route. I think most of that concern, once I dug into it enough, Director, I think that I can solve most of the concerns there. Where you and I are in complete agreement is this bites as overall. However, if we did want a backup option, which we don't have to do, I'm recommending that you allow me to continue researching this to where that option is available. I am not recommending this. That's really clear. If we feel confident that we want to go with what really is a binary choice, we either end up right where we're at right now today, or we end up with our tax base passed. And it's a very serious thought, again, where I'm totally agreeing with you, that if it's too confusing, we could end up hurting our chances of getting the primary option. But I put quite a little bit of research into trying to see if I could develop the least terrible option other than the tax base. And if you've got ideas, I am more than willing to go down any rabbit hole you give me. In fact, I've been obsessed with this for the last 2 weeks.
Well, another concern with this user fee system is it doesn't take into account the all hazards response. So rescues, car accidents, things like that, or if somebody uses that service, are they getting a bill for those items?
And
so
there's lots of this. At some point forward, there's so many decisions that if I hang up on try to do what ifs for everything. So I went ahead and used my judgment on a lot of them to be able to move forward to this point. Doesn't mean we can't back up and change any of this, but I'm not sure if I was deciding it today and it was all 5 directors running this show, my current thinking, until somebody directs me otherwise, is we exist for fire. People are voting for this for fire. We have a lot of auxiliary services, but if you'll think about it, you can take most of those auxiliary services out of the system and say you don't want the fire department to do that anymore. You're not going to reduce the budget, but fractionally for any of them. It is fire that drives the overall budget and is our primary justification for being here. So based on that and simplicity, I went ahead and just thought, let's just tie it to fire.
We don't exist just for fire.
Right.
We're an all-risk agency. that responds to hazmat, vehicle accidents, wildland fires, structure fires, medicals.
I would debate that the majority.
We're not a fire-only agency.
Most of the people, when they're voting, are voting with their frame of mind clearly set in fire protection. The other thing I would push back on is exactly what you just said. If you, from a budgetary standpoint, you can remove those items and you haven't reduced the budget by much. The overall driving force behind our staffing model and everything else does center on fire.
But isn't part of public education when we go out there and we explain the importance of a fire district? Let me finish. Is we tell them we're all risk, all the stuff we can do for them. They drive a car into a tree on riverbanks. We're going to be there to extricate them out of their car and provide medical at the same time.
Well, you're absolutely.
We're selling ourselves as only fire. We're way wider than that. We're a wide angle lens versus a telephoto focusing on one thing.
The only place I was applying for director was in the billing process for triggering the fire fee. That was the only place I was. And as I said, that could also be undone in a heartbeat, but I would have to back up. What I did, and I was wanted to move forward with a huge number of things to culminate in this, is I just made some decisions on the way, all of which, that's where we scratch the surface because it creates a number of rapids, each one of which I could have gotten hung up on for a long time. I chose to go that route. One, I found a logical argument that allowed me to, an argument you very clearly disagree with, and I respect that, because I'm not even sure I'm right. I'd have to go back and develop pricing structure for how that would impact. Fire is quite clean. It allowed me to move on and keep moving on the system. But
So something on this would be more, a yes vote would get you a permanent tax base. A no vote would get this other option because.
70 fires, the rest
Because,
is everything else.
okay,
because
And those fire calls aren't all structured.
if we don't get the tax base passed, then it would be status quo with rural metro, correct?
that is correct.
So if it was a ballot measure put in a way that a yes vote would get a permanent tax, a no vote would get this other option, because then that replaces rural metro's billing. And now we become the billers
Correct.
instead of rural metro. And therefore there is more hold to us being the biller as opposed to rural metro.
Not to mention, and in retrospect, I should have started there. Not even given this proposal yet until we had the discussion on whether or not the dual option without the companion ballot was even a good idea at its basis. But the argument what got me started was exactly what your reference. That is, if we don't get the tax base, where are we?
So instead of, if we don't get the tax base, being status quo within a service agreement with rural metro for them to continue doing subscription-based service, this would then in turn replace it to where we are the biller.
And may I add one more point that puts an emphasis on why I thought not ending up exactly where we are, going to a great deal of effort to not end up exactly where we are. I don't believe we can meet our statutory obligation to the public under the current system. If we don't control the funds, we don't control our own district.
Along with your deal, you made the quote, "I'm going to start spending dollars." Could you elaborate on that?
Primarily, I'm talking about should we receive a consensus tonight that the dollars would be legal research.
Legal research through our legal team?
Yeah.
Kendall.
Because if I'm wrong about a few of my baseline assumptions, this option doesn't even exist.
Well, I don't think anything we've talked about yet addresses and what the percentage is, because it's not on that first due chart, but doesn't address the non-billable stuff for people out of that aren't in Josephine County.
Didn't address that.
And there's a large, I'm assuming because of all the motor vehicle accidents, river rescues, there's a large percentage of stuff that we can't bill for currently. And I think that's probably time better spent than a secondary ballot measure, so.
Yeah.
Totally valid point. It's not the concern I was working on living here.
Yeah,
You're right. That has to be tied in as well. The whole thing.
there are a lot of districts and municipalities who actually charge for auto accidents on freeways, things like that. So, I mean, that would be something that could be wrote in at a later date, but ballot measure wise, instead of being a dual option, just have it be written as a yes vote gets you a tax base, a no vote puts us as the biller instead of rural metro as the biller.
I'd have to think about it, but I mean, for face value, I think that's a good idea. I just have to think about how that.
Well, and the wording for that would have to be changed, but yeah,
We need control of
We
the
need-
finances
right.
because otherwise.
Could we
budget
throw
grows.
a user fee system into the same one where basically we get away from the dual, which Ralph is correct, that is immensely confusing.
yeah,
And we get into one.
one ballot measure, a yes,
No vote
yes vote gets you
is
this,
currently in that.
a no vote gets you this. Yeah, that's one measure, it's not a dual, but then that gives us the control of the billing, doing this fee-based system, as opposed to rural metro doing their continued subscription.
And then I have already noted that I'll also need, I'm taking this back to the drawing board, if you want me to proceed with it, doing that one right there, plus the modification to where all services are billed.
Correct.
Okay? Any other significant, although that's a huge significant one, it changes the framework entirely. And we'll have to go back again now and work on trying to look at the legal precedent for a ballot measure that's complex.
Does that make better sense?
Yeah, it does.
Doing it that way instead of a dual?
I like it better too, we can do
The
it.
dual thing's just totally confusing. I've seen
Yeah.
people just vote no across the board.
Now, I'm fear of the hands, that if they're confused, that they just don't know what goes.
Tom, what's your, I mean,
I appreciate the depth of research that Chief Turnbull's put into looking at alternative options. And I know, or I guess, not that I know, but I suspect that some of the conversation you had with Chief Peterson and expanding other options, this is a consideration, but I really just have some strong hesitancies about not prioritizing a tax base as our primary mode of securing funding. And I think it's good to have an alternative, but I just see some real challenges in Ralph and Mark and Randy. Actually, all shared some similar concerns I have as far as what the potential workload and lift on the district would be just from purely a tracking standpoint of calls that don't necessarily fall within that. So I'll say, for lack of a better term, that subscription to that bifurcated process of service. I do see value in having an alternative, but I really see that as a deep left field alternative, and would really suggest that we put our effort full tilt into a tax-based district.
Tom, do you mind if I inquire what you thought of Director Jones's suggestion that it is one tax-based measure, but we alter what a no vote represents? I'm not sure that's going to be legal, but I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting, I'm not sure of the parameters of if that's doable or not. I also, listening to that, my thought was, does that deter, would that be a possible deterrent? I don't know if deterrent's the right word, but instead of constituents needing to really be mindful of the fact that, yes, this is what a fire district provides for service for a tax-based financial support, or wait a minute, I have an alternative based off of, kind of a roll of the dice on need or potential use.
Potentially confusing to me.
Yeah.
Could I suggest then that I back up and before proceeding with any of these options, I try to do the next round of research into just identifying and laying out as best I can what series of alternatives I see that we can lay in front of us and pros and cons of each, and without recommending one.
Should we maybe turn our focus right now onto a financial, I said it earlier tonight, I'm drawing a blank now. Anyway, the financial analysis of what, the financial impact statement, there we go. I was trying to think of what the thing I was saying earlier.
Okay.
If we should focus on the financial impact statement first, create that, because then that would determine what our tax base would need to be. Before we even move forward with anything else, we would know then this would be the tax base that we would need, and then what's that? The economic financial impact statement or the economic impact statement. Okay, one of those three words.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Mark, because I think in some ways we're putting the cart before the horse here. Until we know what we need to have as the fee per 1,000 and when we're going to go on the ballot, that needs to be done first. I mean, Sue even kind of said that tonight. We need to know what we are going to look at collecting.
Okay.
That's to me the beginning, and also public education. Without public education, we are spinning our wheels. All this other stuff we're doing. You have stakeholders here that you talk to. Our major stakeholders in this whole endeavor are the taxpayers. They are the number one stakeholder here. We should be communicating with them right now, figuring out how we're going to do it. Town halls, Firewise community talks, anything. We need to get the word out to the public. And I'm shaking my head some days just going, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we focusing on that? Small steps. We need to start that. And the sooner, the better, to get people to say, hey, I understand what you guys do, why you do it, why it costs this amount. I mean, even to the point of the people used to say, down where I worked, what's a fire engine doing at the store with 3 guys? It's because we have to eat. And yes, there's so many times we've had to leave that shopping cart in the store full, hop on the rig and go on a call. That's why we do the stuff we do and the reasons. That's educating the people, because I would say 80% of the people have no idea what this job entails and what they provide.
Okay. Hopefully I'll be able to pull some value out of the last couple of weeks, because I learned a lot. And I'm sure some of that's going to apply as we move forward. What I was attempting to do is, if something's going to take a long time to research it, and there had been an appetite for it, I was trying to get started early enough we weren't caught with our pants down later. So I apologize if you feel I was off focus. I certainly am looking forward to the decision on getting some help on board so we can nail down public strategy and start putting it out there. Can't wait. In fact, I'll cover that in a little bit, Director Welding, that I started with one outreach, it was to the Rotary Club. So I think I've got a sense of direction on that, unless there's any other input.
We
Ready to move on?
want to make sure we have that sense of direction first, Tom, and so what is it that we would like him to focus on first? So I think to help guide him in his endeavors, do we want him to focus on the economic impact statements first? Or do we want him to focus on the education?
I believe the economic impact is important, because if we're going to go out there and people ask that question, well, you don't have to, you can say, we're looking at around, maybe it's going to be $1.94 again. We don't know, but you at least can tell them, hey, it's no different than what you're doing now. You are paying a subscription fee. You're writing a check once a year or quarterly to rural metro right now. It's no different than paying a tax bill. It's the same thing. But people have to understand that, and also the fact that the people that are subscribing, I'm one of them, we're carrying that 30% that aren't. And they're still getting their fire put out, but there's no way of guaranteeing to collect that money. And the people need, however we figure out how to do it, and that's going to be part of Bill's job, or if we hire a company to help do that, is to get that message to the public, to get them to say, this is a good thing. Because we all know it could happen. They say it won't. Rural Metro could pull out of here tomorrow. If all of a sudden that 70% paying subscription dropped to 50, I guarantee you, they're going home.
If we fall back to the strategic plan, and it's on here, the biggest chore we have right in front of us right now is, if we stay with on target with what we're supposed to be doing, we need to be ready to enter negotiations with Rural Metro in October. So the goal is to have the standards covered done by then. Parallel to that, we need to have it to where, as we begin working on what their contract is going to look like, we're going to have that, those, I'm not sure I have the numbers in place to where we can start plugging it in. So we have if you will, a spreadsheet. We can start playing with different scenarios that'll give the board different options. That needs to be ready within October as well. And so those are the two areas that I think will handle that. And so I'm just going to have to, Director Bowling, I'm just going to apologize if you think I went off in the wrong rabbit. As I said, that wasn't my judgment at the time. I was taking us in a direction we thought would have been better. Not that I was in favor of that plan. I did think it sucked the whole time. I was simply trying to see if I couldn't present an alternative, which at some point in the future, who knows, we may be discussing it again.
But
It's still an alternative.
if the tax base doesn't pass, we would have to have something like that in place.
And I think that's a great value to doing the research and just trying to gather information from past experiences and past individuals who have navigated some of these processes. So I think there's a tremendous value in just gathering that knowledge and that information. I still, while I see a permanent tax base a pretty significant hurdle for Josephine County, I think, with what Ralph's saying, there's so many current subscribers that carry the load for the remaining constituents in the county. I have a real personal challenge with that, and see that, obviously, like you do, the tax base being the bridge for everyone to be paying into the service provided.
Yeah.
The board is.
It's mentioned. Yeah.
Okay. The next one is just the ongoing chore of keeping an eye on IGAs, authorities, consolidations, mergers, state law in general. There was some progress made there, but it was through the research on the last report, so I don't need to spend any more time on it. On the FDID, I am engaged in the middle of taking the required classes. I'm hoping to have those wrapped up. Well, certainly by the next board meeting. And then at that point, I'll be able to chat with our local contact from Vermont's office and see if I can push them to start pushing the state to get that number loose. Where we're at on the OSFMID, Friends of Mid-Road, there's a proposal in there, and I'll state before we go on, just like the last one, a proposal does not mean that I'm recommending it. It is for the board to consider. I can live with it either way. The concept here came out of having responded to a few fires over the last few weeks, and the desire that has been expressed by this body to get us in the field and present and start interacting professionally and letting the public know that we exist. In preliminary conversations, there's even a possibility, without any negotiation having taken place, that rural metro might have a vehicle they could get loose to it that does have it's that red pickup. I'm not sure what the idea is. It's that red Ford pickup, the F-150. It's got a canopy and a slide tray in it. I don't know if I didn't want, other than just availability, I didn't want to go any further in the conversation with Chief Nelson until I checked in with this body to see if there was any interest in moving forward or not. The way that I came up with these two components want to be the classic, what used to be called auxiliary services, serving coffee, the Red Cross type stuff in the field. I'd be recommending a real low level, nothing approaching meals, other than maybe a willingness to use the pickup to run and get them for the incident management team once they have the meal need identified and who was going to pay for it. And then the other part of it was the liaison role, which was the role that I gravitated to. Officially, the only thing I could really tag to showing up at a fire scene in this hat is agency representative. But I found myself in the liaison role, helping cross-communicate between a number of agencies, especially those that aren't plugged directly into sharing the frequency for, fire. And then I've been approached by, and they actually approached me, several of the old salts, some of which, they're very like Charlie Phoenix, a willingness to respond in that pickup, in that role, for both serving coffee, but also playing that liaison role. This is something I've identified. I'm giving it to the board as an option to see if there's any interest in pursuing it further. I do understand that triggering the workers' comp for volunteers would be relatively easy, but we would have to go through a process of building a program so we can, for onboarding volunteers, what it means and expectations and so forth. So there would be some work in it, and it could in fact, that'd be one where I think with CATSI's help, we could fit that in around these other more globally important chores.
We would need a volunteer handbook, volunteer policy. We would have to have some sort of vetting, background, all that stuff would have to be done as well. And then insurance, which adding volunteers onto our work comp is pretty minimal. For the 5 of us, I think it was $10 a year or something like that. Pretty good.
Insurance.
Yeah.
And then, and then auto insurance for the vehicle.
I see what you're looking at here, Phil, and it's a good thing. The only thing I found, I contacted Austin today because Rural Metro has the fire support group. I can't remember what they were actually called.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I asked Austin, I said, hey, do you still have that group? He goes, yeah, we have names on paper, but they never show up.
Right.
And they were even paid. So my only question here, will we get people to volunteer? I know Charlie would do it, knowing Charlie, but will we be able to fill this with volunteers? It seems like people don't want to work anymore, no less volunteers.
Yeah, and I
Could
be
we?
hopeful, but I couldn't give you any kind of guarantee on.
Yeah, I mean, could you reach out to the fire science thing at the college and maybe they can get, hey, it's a resume thing.
I do think there's a possibility that the fire district might have a warm and fuzzy about it that we may be able to build that a business can't. No matter how hard they try, and they do a good job of it, of building the right culture. They've got a good culture, but it tends to be that of a hard driving fire. It doesn't have the feel of a volunteer fire department. We may be able to attract people, but I wouldn't know this one, we're going to try. And the issue right now, because somebody, once you brought up earlier about where I'm putting my time, representing so much of our capabilities
Yeah,
coming.
because we kind of already have this, even though they're not participating at rural metro. But I look at, yeah, it's a good idea. And I remember when I was trying to become a firefighter years ago, anything involving the fire department, you got your foot in the door because it was a chink on your resume. Hey, I did this, I did that. I don't know if it's still that way with the teaching at the colleges and the kids that are trying to get into fire service. You know, where this used to be a nugget. Hey, yeah, I'm going to do that.
I think I'd be looking at recruiting the same crowd that sued that crowd that did the ballot, and none of them were fighting fire, whether it's make it. That was mostly a support network.
Yeah.
That kind of surrounded us. And that is, and none of those people, when you think about the group that she talked about meeting weekly, those weren't on the sports services team either. There is one or two members off the sports services team I would go try to recruit, especially with that liaison role. I go after Sandy Whitaker in a heartbeat. With her qualifications, I'm not sure if you would know. With Typhoon Planning Section, or excuse me, Logistics Chief.
Would this be more of a getting our name out there with the branding in the truck? Us being, hey, look, Mid-Rope's here in this operation as well.
Full disclosure, some of it also has to do with not making me feel as awkward. Give me a way to fit in a little better. But it's something we could do later, or something we could do in slow motion without Gatsy and I slowing down our other projects, or something we can table.
I honestly think that we need to spend as much of your time and Cassie's time working on our main objective, that is the taxing district. I really think that that's probably paramount in getting education out there, letting people know, you know, what all they're getting, value-added services for what they're paying for. Because you're right, you made the statement earlier that probably 80% of people really don't know what rural metro can provide. And I think that's paramount.
So what if, with this idea, it actually got pushed on to the Friends of Mid-Road Fire District UD to get somebody who actually takes Friends of, somebody who actually takes that and starts using that. Not you, not Cassie, but somebody else that actually start running, like Lang, to start running that.
Now, Lang has some interest, so the idea is
he could come in.
Yeah.
Right, and then he could come in and bring this to us as him doing it, so that way your and Cassie's focus is still on the tax base and getting that. Your oversight, but somebody else is doing that labor.
If you read the structure, I did have the daily running them, and I was going to jump on. Like your idea is we take the whole enchilada, right?
Like the little mid-row, the whole Friends of, and have that be somebody else.
And usually stepping in to get the insurance and so forth, but that would take very far.
Something like that.
And then get them to start running that 501(c), so that that's them. Takes it off you, and you just never.
I forgot to mention that when I was ready to go back. So once we did have it geared up, rather than waiting until we need them for the campaign, they'd already get to know each other and start functioning. And I thought that was an advantage as well.
Is Charlie interested in the Friends of Road?
Haven't talked to him about that, but he was interested in this lay husband position, so the answer would be yes by default.
Yeah.
If you want to go that route, that'd be a good way to go.
So I'll do that.
Great.
Did you want to check with Tom real quick?
Tom, thoughts?
Is he muted?
I think, like I just sent the group a message, but I think there's some value there. Just question if there's adequate space and is that the most appropriate investment of time for our focused needs right now. But if someone like Lang had some interest and was able to kind of carry that torch forward with the you know, kind of our overall intent, because I think when we do come to campaign time, that those additional hands will be extremely important. just the initial lift and trying to, like you mentioned, Mark, formulate the actual program with the support package and needs to do it right and protected. That's a huge lift.
Mark, get a hand, somebody else,
And
top left corner. Might have been Tom. For city standards of cover. Myself and,
We ready for me to move on?
yes, sir.
All right. Next item on the agenda is Sue Densmore, obviously, just did her presentation. And I think, did you put this on the agenda later? The actually making a decision? Which was,
yeah, it's under new business.
Under new business.
okay.
Did we get the dollar figure from
Yes.
Liz?
I missed Liz today, her assistant, and I'll give a real quick summary of that and of fairness to Liz. Suzanne is her assistant, and I really liked her. And I ended up, without, to give credit where credit's due, without any prompting, she told me that she had thought about the input from both our meetings and the meeting that she had online, and that she wanted to go on the record as having changed her mind about our ability to work with Rural Metro. I don't know where it came from, it was unprompted, but I thought, okay, that was a good summation. I thought I'd pass that, nothing more to say about that. And then probably the final thing to say is $7,000. The scope of work I do not have in writing right now, but all fairness, it looked like it was slightly limited compared to what we got from the first presenters.
I can't remember their name either, but.
7,000 a month?
United Strategies.
Correct.
It's 7,000 total or a month?
That's per month.
That was around the same as I remember the first presenters were. They were right in that area too. Their total, they figured for entire campaign, I recall, it's going to be somewhere around 100 grand.
She is going to get that to me in writing, but didn't have time to. And I think that's good enough. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that she did follow through with getting me the price and catching up with me. And the only thing I noticed from the verbal rundown she gave me in scope of work was it didn't seem to include as much advisory work, exactly what Sue was talking to me about, that legal end of it. Hers was giving us a checklist and maybe helping to talk about, that was totally on us. So there was an additional workload there that United Strategies included. And of course, you got a good feel for our Sue's capabilities.
Yeah, and that first group, what was the gal's name, Isis?
ISIS, yes.
Seemed like she was going to carry the majority of the weight in their presentation as far as going out there and education and, that kind of stuff. And
being as fair as I can, it does seem United Strategies scope of work.
yeah,
I got a meeting several times during Liz's speech that we were doing the footwork.
yep.
Like you said, we get a checklist, these are things that need to be done, now go get them done and get back to them. That's kind of the way I felt with her presentation.
Dude.
And her staff is obviously a lot more limited than what United Strategies has. Pay more, but I think,
It was pretty close to the same.
well, I think the money we spend for that, in the end, if the tax base prevails, is money well spent.
So let's,
Full disclosure, I just got a text from Greg Lemmy. 5,000.
so he must be watching.
Yeah, so which,
That was the first.
he's extremely clever.
No, I thought that's what it was.
That was the guy with the first group?
Yeah, that's United Strategies.
United Strategies. It is.
Thank you, Rick.
Yes, so Greg for that correction.
We can discuss that in the new business section. We'll move forward with this.
Various things. Appreciate it, which you did. And the committee, which includes Director McGowan and Director Benetti, and myself and Steve Nelson came in for the latter half of the meeting and provided us information on his GIS capabilities to be able to download response times into geographic areas. He explained that to us. He is also going to be attending a meeting with Kathy and I with the county GIS, to where we'll dig into that a little bit further. Steve is going on vacation all of September, so we're in a rush to get that part done this month, where we've got the baseline response criteria broken down into the districts that we discussed. The committee, which is going to meet again this coming Thursday morning at the office, and Gatsy and I have divided up the workload between the two of us, trying to get the information we need, which included that NFPA research we're talking about, ready so that committee can continue to move forward on Thursday. We're fast tracking this one. Not done by the time Steve gets back, and to not just hold us up when we go into negotiations with Rural Metro. I've also been along that line. It's out of order for what I have here, but I have been pushing Chief Nelson to start getting us an idea of some date ranges that would work for their management team to come to. I don't have those yet, but I'm stakeholder meetings. I'm only going to really talk at length about a couple of them. Interfaced with Nate Sanders a couple of times, including the one that is not on here because it occurred after I turned this report in. But I went out just to see how Williams was going to handle their community meeting regarding their upcoming levy. I wanted to get a model for that, just the way they were going to run that meeting. And when I got there, the entire Valley, Williams, and Applegate senior staff was off on the Woodrat fire at the time, and I ended up facilitating the meeting for it. So I knew it was really exciting. I don't know how they would have went, which is why I went. But the emergency manager, Nate Sanders, was also there. It was a great deal of fun. Cassie and I had a good meeting with him the other day, and I think he's going to be great once he gets a little time to get on the street. Good conversation with Mike Shaw from the State Fire Marshal's office. Mike, if you don't know, I'm sure you're familiar with him, Rob, sits rank-wise between Salem and a local community. He's in the region. With that.
Sorry, I was reading about it's unlocked. Yeah, it's unlocked.
Who's Dave Larson, Bill?
Dave Larson was the Grants Bastion Forester, got promoted to the district forester out of Medford, and was promoted upstate. And talk with him because he's the highest ranking ODF official I know.
Yes.
And I've got an excellent rapport with him and a huge amount of respect for him. Mostly just want to check in. I'm not sure where that'll go, that there's any value other than letting him know I'm back in the game. And I'm going to be kept posted. Hussey is still out of, and the main reason that I want to talk with him, the chief of, he is the fire chief of both Jackson County District 3 and District 5 through an IGA. Yeah, it is an IGA. And I want to get my finger on the pulse about what's going on there. Miscellaneous, mutual aid agreement, the Rural Valley Fire Chiefs Association. I haven't done anything with it other than get a list of things that I want to accomplish, but Director Jones and I both feel it's important that we get moving on that and become at the earliest opportunity without being disruptive. We need to be a signature to the Rural Valley mutual aid agreement. We are the AHJ.
That's not on our list here.
Yeah. Okay, that's one of them that I've added since then. Sorry. Let's see. Another one not on your list is dispatcher training. This is just a favor for 911, but I think it'll be good for us as well. She's got a new batch of dispatchers and wants me to go in and be the one. And she invites chief officers to do this on a regular basis and do the introduction to the mutual aid system and how our local fire service works. I've agreed to do that. She can give me a date. And then
Will she be able to get us actually listed on the dispatch? So instead of when they do their call outs, it's Mid-Road Fire District calls instead of rural metro calls.
Well, I thought we'd wait until we did that branding, that branding.
Yeah.
If you've got a desire, we can talk. Let's see, social media transition. The main one I'm interested in there is not trying to compete with what Austin is currently doing, blow for blow on fires. It's exactly what Director Wilding was talking about earlier. The sooner we get our message ready to start putting it out, which is the reason we made that, get back to the discussion of selecting our firm to help us. The sooner we do that, the sooner that person posts that I can wrap my brain around and start logically and not too fast, if you don't want to, you know what I mean, start rolling out and communicating and playing with it. Now, I did get a chance to play with and learn a lot from my Rotary presentation because that was my trial of introducing it. And I learned, one, I need to get better being more clear, although it's challenging because these are Rotarians. And so I'm going to say this is the top tier of people from anywhere in this room. And if I can't explain to them to where I don't get the repeat question, because I don't know if you know this, Mark, but I counted 3 times, I believe, that they came back and asked me, and I thought I'd answered it. I may not have, because when I talk, sometimes I'm not the best public speaker, but I was asked 3 times in a row in different ways, are we still gonna have to pay rural metro if you get your tax base?
That's the same question I get from you.
But
Over and over.
that's a tough one.
Did you catch that?
Yeah, no, it was
It was like,
three different
okay.
versions of the same question, but
We may never be able to perfect that message, but we can do better than I do. That's my goal.
This will replace rural metro's subscription base.
I thought I said that.
you did, but it's, yeah.
But as I said, if a group of Rotarians have asked me 3 times, we've got a challenge there. And okay, so otherwise, though, in general, I thought here's one good thing came in. They were really easy to interact. I cast out a little bit of I did your son's video clip of Phoenix and Talent burning, showed a picture of Beacon Hill on fire from just the other day. And I went through this quick. I said, you guys don't need me to talk to you about why I'm here today. This is important. You got it. I mean, you've grown up around here. You know that these smoked out summers aren't normal. So I got through that one pretty quick. I think that went well. So that gives us time in these speeches to focus on some of these other more confusing things once we get the message refined. And I think with that, waiting for the staff card is tomorrow. Unless there's any questions, that concludes my report.
You have any questions? Tom, any questions?
No, I do not. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, we'll move out of item 6 into item 7, public comments. So, members of the public will have 3 minutes and may speak to the board about district items that are not on today's agenda or ones that were on today's agenda. Once recognized, members shall state their name and address for the record and then address the board. Board members should not respond to the comments made during the audience time except to ask clarifying questions. Any public requests for board actions will be referred to the staff for review before being placed on future agenda.
I have one clarification question.
Yes, sir.
Do they have to give their actual address number or just say the street they live on?
That street's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so do we have any members of the public that would like to speak this evening?
Here again.
Yes, sir, go ahead and state your name.
Okay. I have a problem with, as you know, I think, I'm glad that, Ron Bark maybe got to the point saying that, the subscription idea, it does. It really does. 70% of the people supporting the whole, that's up to. I'm willing to pay my fair share. John, my neighbor, he's willing to pay his fair share. But I carry people that don't want to pay their fair share.
So I think the direction that you guys need to move is, I don't know who you are, okay? I look at you, you've got the same work ethic I have and John has and everybody in this room has, but people coming up in this world don't have that work ethic, okay? So where are you gonna get people to do this? One thing. One of the consequences of opting out of a plan like that, okay, I looked up what rural metro charges. Rural metro charges $1,500 per truck, $150 per man per hour. Okay, now, somebody who's not a member, they're gonna go fight this fire. His house is gonna burn down. When we can get a taxes property, they don't have to burn down. I mean, you know, who's stuck with the bill? We are. Okay. A tax rate feels good, but what I think you need to do is you need to let people know who you are, let people know what you're doing. I look on the website, okay, committee chair. You guys want committee chair. Okay, so you're committee chairman, what do you actually do? How do you move forward to get the people of this county to understand how important it is to have a viable fire service with what needed? Okay. One suggestion that I would make, which may or may not go over, is that prison inmates, the non-violent, they come and they volunteer to fight a fire, they get consideration, maybe. That's an incentive, you know, something like that. Yeah. They get afford it. Many people, everybody chips in, everybody get less. So how do you do that? I think you've got to go out and you guys have been all been in the fire business for years and years. I've been on and off living in the county of Gilpin since 2005, on and off, so I've been here a while. I had no idea we had a fire. Then I called Metro and say, why did the bill go up? Okay, so I don't think people, I don't think they would do this. And you're starting to sound like politicians with these campaigns. You sound like a politician, people are gonna. You've got to make it affordable, you've got to make it desirable, and you've got to make it in the interest of the community and the people living in the community. The common man, me, okay, don't, only you guys. Make it affordable, make it attractive to us. I mean, the last ballot measure that went through the sheriff department was, give the sheriff all his money because he's gonna increase all patrol. You know how many sheriff cars have come down Merkle Road since that passed? One.
You're 3 minutes.
Okay, you can get the money so that you can spend the money for what it's done for. I lived in California for years, everything had a ballot measure. Money got, people voted for this stuff, and the money got enforcement in other places. People have to know that this is gonna go for where their money is gonna provide the value. So that's kind of I'm coming from.
I gotta cut you off, you're past your 3 minutes. Yeah. Did you want to hold them? No. Did you wish to speak?
You mentioned that education is important, and that would be a critical thought. You need to educate people what you do. I mean, I had a education on. I was here, and my parents accepted the food. I've been here for a while. And the gold bill for it. And
Yeah.
what we did is the community did it. It's just what you had. Use it turned out.
I can speak for the board. We all live in the district. We all have a background in the fire service, but we all want what's best for everybody here. That's our goal.
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to bring that out to the public.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And you're right, you're going to have to tell them what they're paying for.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't tell them what they're paying for, they know.
Right.
Hey, born and raised here. Been 37 years in the fire service, so I definitely have a heart in it.
Step it down from you.
Yeah, the struggle is this area that's protected by rural metro has not had a fire district in over 50 years. There's been nothing here. It was in May of 1971, the commissioners at that time paid for a study on how to create the fire district in that area, for this area, and it never got done. And then so for years, there's been a group of people trying to get this fire district established. And so in November of 2024, the commissioners created the district, but there was no board of directors. So the board of directors were put on the ballot in May of 2025. We were all elected, took our positions on the July 1st of 2025, and we had nothing. I mean, we've gotten to this point. It's taken a year to get to this point here, where we have staff, we have an office, and so then now where we're going from here is that educational portion to educate the public and get the public on board with this district. And that's what we hope to start now moving forward this year, this fiscal year. So, and getting you guys here and giving us the input is very appreciative. We enjoy having you here. We've gone this long without anybody showing up to these meetings. You know, we do put it out there on the website and social media, but I mean, there's occasionally there was some articles in the paper, but nobody ever showed. So thank you guys for coming down. Appreciate it.
I just have one quick question. You brought something up that really struck home. What keeps rural metro here?
Oh, right, for years.
Where's our protection? If they decide they don't want to be here anymore, I mean, they pay the money. Do I have a contract with them? Do they have to honor that contract? Who controls them? You know,
well, right now,
company pays me.
Right.
I don't understand that. You know, they're responsible to themselves.
Well, right now, having the fire district, the board, you know, unfortunately, the contract that we're under with them right now is just allowing them to operate status quo. So once there is a tax base, depending on how things go and how the board votes, a master contract with them would hold them here. There would be reason that they wouldn't be able to just up and leave in a moment's notice. Right now, we have it written into the service agreement that if they do decide, they have to give us a year to find somebody to replace them. So right now, that's written into the service agreement that we have with them currently. Right. There is none. Until we get that tax base, it's hard. Yeah. Until we get the tax base to solidify the district and have the funds for the district, it's really hard to get that guarantee that we have service. So like you were saying, yeah. So we're working on that. We're moving forward to get to that position.
The other thing is they charge based on your value.
Yeah, which is how any fire
Like
district.
you said last week, oh, you make an improvement to your property, you lower the fire risk, and you pay more money for the property. No, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and that's how all fire districts, all municipalities, everything is based on a cost per thousand of your assessed value. That's any any special districts or service districts are taxed that way.
I don't have it in front of me, but rural metro is actually of all of the areas around here, when you see all the levies like Illinois Valley, Williams, and then they're actually the lowest right now.
Yeah, actually, you got that.
I just charted it out there.
Yeah.
At this moment in time, that Williams is lower.
Williams is lower.
But if they get it levied, I just wanted to try to help them to introduce to the public, as they sell, because it was a facilitator. That would put them at 240.
40, yeah.
And then rural metro would be the cheapest thing.
Yeah.
Did they have?
Rural metro?
No.
Yeah.
It's just your property value can go up as much as 3% per year.
Right.
Which is then it's calculated.
Well, I called them, So, that's what we always do with them. But,
Yeah.
Before, if you don't mind. They are.
the record, you know, but
So for this meeting though, sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. We can talk after the meeting, but for this meeting, let's finish this up. It's our time limit here. And we've got a couple more things we gotta get to, and then afterwards, no worries. We have a certain time for public comment, and we gotta move into the rest. We still have a few more items here, so let's go into new business, which would be committee reports. And I'll check. I don't think we have anything with staffing. Anything with training, Tom?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Communications, policy, prevention, in there. Okay, so we're moving out of committee reports. Doesn't sound like we have anything there. And then public affairs firm discussion and selection. So this is where we need to decide, I guess, tonight for the public affairs firm, what direction we wish to go, or do we table it?
Do we want Vinny's input?
It'd be good to have.
He's excused for the meeting for a legitimate reason.
Right, yeah.
And I think Vinny should have the opportunity to give any input he has, personally.
Do you think timeline wise, tabling this till the next meeting would be?
Can I just share a quick thought? I totally agree, Ralph. I think that's very, with what Vinny's working through right now, but I also think from a timeliness standpoint, I think Vinny would 100% fully support our decision collectively, not to take away from his input by any means, but I just feel we need to really get this firm on board and get them chugging ahead.
I agree with that.
The motion,
I would entertain a motion to move forward, but first, before we need to
Don't we need
decide.
to pick one?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need to
Okay.
decide first which one we want to go with, so.
Question with picking one. Do we have, if we're gonna have Sue also involved, which she offered to do,
She did.
do we need to include that in this motion?
With Sue's involvement, I think she would probably be more beneficial to be part of the Friends of Midroad as they start doing the actual campaign. I think that's where her strong point would be.
I think she's expecting us to ask for volunteer.
Yeah. So for the educational portion, I think it would be, one of these two companies here for the educational portion. When we get ready for the campaign portion, that's going to be the Friends of Midroad.
That's right.
And I think that's where Sue would
Her
be the
strengths.
strongest. Her strength would be there with that.
Okay.
she knows more.
Yeah.
I don't see really any potential for a conflict. I won't tell Gregory what's going to, but the feeling there, I know Sue well. I think that with Sue stepping in, it'd be like any other volunteer, with room capability
Right.
than most other volunteers.
Very
because-
Right.
Yeah, just a strong volunteer.
So with that, then, the discussion would be which one you want to go with.
What's the,
United Strategies.
Yeah, so we have United Strategies, which would be 5,000 per month. Loomis would be 7,000.
I'd make a motion that we go with United Strategies. For
Second. Sorry, Ralph. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No problem.
All right, so I have a motion and a second to move forward with United Strategies and Consulting to provide public affairs services for the Mid-Road Fire District. Any further discussion? Hearing none, take the roll, please.
Director McGowan,
Yes.
Director Benetti,
Yes.
Director Weidling,
Yes.
Director Ownby,
Excuse?
Director Jones.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
United Way.
That authorizes me to go ahead and set up the agreement with them.
Yes.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
And then touch base with Sue about what we discussed with her, part of the
Being
things.
part of the Friends of
Yeah.
Mid-Road. Yeah.
Of course, so be touching base with Liz when she's got some work she committed to do today.
Okay. All right. Move out of new business and into correspondence. Do we have any letters, bills? Oh, looks like bills. Uh-oh. Subpoena.
So we have Evergreen bank statements,
That's good. Just you?
and then we did receive an invoice from Sorensen, Ransom, and Ferguson, so that was fog.
We got one today too.
And it's for an additional $108.
Couple more emails.
Yeah.
Oh, because she said, yeah. Okay. And I'm gonna have to, so there's gonna be more. Oh, it's an additional 100, because I already paid the 686.
Yeah, so it's just the additional.
Okay, so
You get to retain the checkbook.
I'll keep this, there you go, since you can't write,
I can write, but you can't
sign.
you can't tell what it says.
So that's it, is there?
That's
All right, moving out of 9 into 10, any additional matters of the board? Open floor for board reports, requests, or comments.
Thank you.
Hearing none. All right, Tom, got anything?
No, thank you.
All right, well, at this point in time then, I would, without objection, adjourn the meeting.
No objection.
Hearing no objection, we'll adjourn this meeting at 7:27.